Howdy! Today, as a follow-up to my previous video, we're going to be talking about centering. But before we actually do that, let's play a little game. Welcome to Is This Card Centered? 10 seconds on the clock. And after that, you let me know which card here is actually centered and will pass PSA's grading standard. If your answer was A, you would be correct. But if your answer was B and C, you'll be correct as well. In fact, all of these three cards are actually centered. And that is why we can't usually trust our eyes. For this, we need to talk about something very important: color theory. Color theory is the study of how colors affect the way we see and interpret things. High contrast areas draw our attention more than low contrast areas, and larger objects naturally dominate our view. The result is that two cards with the same centering can often look very different to the human eye. A dark Pokémon or a dark area can make one border feel tighter, whereas bright open space on a card like, let's say, the Bubble Mew can make a border feel actually larger. Similarly, if you look at the Mega Charizard card, the side with the more colors looks bigger. In grading, this matters because our brains and our eyes don't naturally measure the borders. We measure the card as a whole. And that's exactly why when you see whether a card is centered or not, you can't just go with vibes. You gotta go with the math. So today, I'm going to actually show you 5 different ways and actually how I measured a card centering before I actually send it off to PSA or BGS or CGC or TAG even. And with all 5 methods, I can guarantee you'll never get centering wrong again. So for method number 1, we have card centering. It's an app that you can get off Apple Store. I pay for mine. So how you want to actually use this is actually quite simple. Take out some cards. We have a Howdy. So what we want to do is actually scan the card, and that's going to naturally draw our lines. And what you see here is I'm actually putting the red color lines that you see on the border. So remember, if you're actually doing outside the border for each side, you have to do it for the other side as well. And this app is quite intuitive. It actually sometimes helps you draw the thing there. And there you have it. We have a 44-55 card. It's 44.4 and 55.6. Now, with the same card, we're going to upgrade how we actually do this. You can actually see whether the phone is level or not. So we're going to do a second measurement on this card. And now if you notice, every side is green, so the weight we know is correct. So we're going to put the card down as flat as we can to measure the damn thing. Once again, remember our centering just now, it was 44.4 and 55.6. Now, with the same method, however, same thing, drawing outside the lines. Right, so our centering now appears to be different. Now we have a card that's 46.7 and 53.3. Whereas top bottom is close to perfect. I would actually say this card is decently centered and still be able to grade, and this is actually more accurate. Now, also very important for the centering app, because you're using your phone when you take the picture, there is actually photo warping. You gotta remember, your camera is on the side, not in the center. And you have to pay attention to that, so sometimes it cannot be as accurate as possible. So that's card centering app. And I would usually say this is level 1 of checking whether your card is centered or not. You can use this app on your phone and you can actually bring up for card shows. Very nondescript, I would say. Now the next step is the card centering tool. There are actually markings here that list from on both ends from 1 to 10. From this, you'll be able to tell whether it's accurate or not. I wouldn't raw dog my card like that. I'll actually have a sleeve before you actually go and do this methods, okay? Centering tool, very easy. Use the centering tool, actually put the card in the center. Make sure all sides are equal. So once you're there, right, you can see where the measurements actually go. For this card, the top and bottom looks to be equal. As for left and right, and I would say this is actually at 1:1.2. Usually they'll have a scale here telling you what is what. So for instance, if the card measures a 2 to 2, that's a 50-50. If it's a 3 to 2, that's 60-40. And you get the idea, right? Most centering tools, they should be adjusted to Pokémon. But there are also tools that apply to basketball and other cards. So you have to be careful of what you actually buy. I would say this is usually more accurate than the centering app, centering tool. And honestly, it's quite cheap. This one's $10. You can get a lot more for even cheaper than that. So highly recommend. Next, and if you still don't trust the centering app and the centering tool, what do you have next? Well, the tried and trusted method of the ruler. Now, the thing about the centering app is sometimes it doesn't allow you to see whether the card is stunted or tilted in that sense. So what I want to do, especially for high value cards, is actually have a ruler. And I will actually measure on all sides how much it actually is. And my ruler is slightly different. It has a lot of markings. Can you see? Very intricate. We have 1 cm, etc. But we even have point something, decimal points here. Obviously, this is more of the standard ruler. 1 to 5 is very intricate. Now, if I actually put a card next to it, you'll be able to see how much it measures. Let's measure the top first. Now, obviously, you shouldn't be doing this to all your cards because this is highly intensive. Yep, exactly 0.25. Now, you want to measure the bottom. So this is actually more intricate than your grading method. I would say this is the next level. And this next step, I hardly hear anyone mentioning this. Putting everything through a scanner. Very easy. Scan the card, measure it out on maybe Canva or something, and that's all. As Avril Lavigne says, I cannot make it any more obvious. And the scanner is definitely going to be the most accurate because the card is flat, 100%, it's capturing every single angle of the card. All you need to do is take the image, put it into Canva, measure the edges, that's it. Now, so we have our 4 steps: the centering app, the centering tool, the ruler, and the scanner. And finally, the most important one of all, the human eye. Now, I know what you're thinking. We spent the last few minutes talking about which calculators is the best. So that's exactly why the human eye is my first step and the last step. By this point, I've used everything already to determine that the centering is on point. It's below 55-45. The thing is, PSA does say that the card has to look overall pleasing to the eye. And similarly, we should be looking for that as well. So what am I truly looking for? Confidence. And while centering standards exist, graders at the end of the day are still human beings sitting in a dark room looking at your card. And that makes it very subjective. So if a card measures well, but is visually unbalanced, I definitely would be careful. Usually I tend to err on the side of caution. Anything above 54.5, I'm not going to be sending it for grading. Because every measuring standard has some amount of uncertainty, I'd rather be safely inside the line than outside of it. However, if you really believe that this card is within the centering limits, make sure it's some high value card before you actually gamble on it. So that's that. If you master all 5 of this from practice, you'll never get centering wrong again. Remember, use measurements to qualify the card and use your eyes to decide whether you're confident enough to submit it. I'll see you in the next one. Stay shiny.